Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Citizen Council live stream. I am Chris Castleman.
And I'm Brandy Martindale.
How's it going, Brandy?
Pretty good. How you doing, Chris?
Pretty, pretty good. I love doing these. This is so fun. I was running around pulling weeds and gardening once again. It like turned out sunny today, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to edit all that video, or else it's going to be too long. And then I was like, oh, it's fine. I've done it before. It takes like maybe an hour to edit the video. And I have like three programs, and like every one of them wasn't working right. So, but I found one online. You like upload the video online and edit it from there. And I think it'll work. It's the
Nice.
one that puts the subtitles on. So,
Nice. Cool.
and
I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be fun.
the,
We get
it
to
was
I'm going to
it was a
I'm going to
last
get to
minute
nerd
thing.
out.
Yeah, Saturday going to the rally. I've gone to the rallies before, and I've done this. I've just talked with people. I like talking with people and getting different perspectives and things like that, but I've never filmed it. And filming it adds a very different vibe, right? Like shoving a camera and a microphone in someone's face, me being on the camera, like it changes the dynamic. But I think we had fun with it. There were some people who were a little annoyed with me online for, I don't know, I guess I didn't embarrass these people, they embarrassed themselves, but whatever, to perspective. So hey, um we have Perry Holman with us. Hey, Perry.
Hi,
Hey.
Perry.
I sent him the last minute link, and like a couple minutes ago. So that's pretty cool. You're able to join us. How's how's work? You
Not
look
bad.
exhausted.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I think, weren't we having dinner Friday night? And we were like, we should go film it.
hmm
And then like, you're like, all right, I guess. We just showed up, and
Brilliant.
you were my cameraman. Wonderful cameraman.
Yeah.
I
I
can't believe
love
you
it.
held your hand up for a whole hour and plus minutes, just following me
I
around.
don't know how it wasn't shaking.
You did a good job, Perry. That was
As
that
as
the whole thing
DEI,
was gold.
what are we? DEI couple or something?
We're the
Or
DEI couple.
yeah, that guy with the coat
Yeah.
that
Oh
was
yeah,
hanging
yeah. There was a
on.
guy. I didn't put him in the little clip montage that I made
Oh,
but it was stupid. Yeah, there was a guy kind of bothering us, harassing us. Um, Somebody must have told him that I'm like super anti-trans or something, and um, I'm like, I'm not anti-trans. Like trans people can be trans, but I'm like anti-DEI, and I'm anti men and women's locker rooms. Like just because you're trans doesn't give you the right to disrupt someone's privacy. It just doesn't. It just change your biology. Your DNA is still the same. It does not change.
yeah,
But
no,
I have no
lumping
problem with people feeling different feelings.
lumping sexism, violation of our federal protections, Title IX, violating our sex-based rights, violating women's rights, and putting men in prisons, in women's prisons. These things have nothing to do with trans. This has nothing to do with people that want to live their life as trans. This is about predators who are using a cultural movement to prey on women and really to prey on children. I'm sorry, but if you're shaking your junk in front of a child, just because you have a bunch of makeup and a dress on doesn't mean that you're not still a pervert. It's weird. And so it's funny how they try to lump this stuff under, oh, you're a transphobe. Like, no, man, I got a few like really good transsexual friends that have been my friends for a long time. One of them calls himself a tranpa,
Oh wow,
because he's one of the OG, they call themselves typically
don't know what that means.
transsexuals. And
But you mentioned
tranpa,
prisons.
what's
Tramp.
that?
You mentioned prisons, and then like there's prisons and schools, and like these are situations where people don't have freedom and control. Like you are forced. Like I remember,
Right.
gym class, you're forced to go into the locker room of your gender and change. So if I'm in there and there's a female, or if I was a girl and there's a male in there, that's not okay. I'm being forced to be in there, um, and then certainly a prison, but. anyways, I don't know. I don't really want to. Maybe we can get into it if it comes up in the footage. I don't want to have a whole show about transgender and DEI stuff. It's just
Right.
I had an interview for my Coos Bay school board position I'm running for, and it came up, and my answer was it's all a distraction. Like that's not, what our I don't know why we're focusing on these things. We have so many other issues. But I just want to say hello to my mom. My mom's watching the show, I guess.
Hi, Mary Louise.
It's cool.
How fun.
And Cheryl. And
Very cool. Hi,
Cheryl with an
Cheryl.
S.
Cheryl and Cheryl.
That's funny.
Hello,
Thanks for
ladies.
watching, people. 3 ladies. There you go. But yeah, I don't know. That was how was that for you as a cameraman, Perry? Like you're sitting there, like I was doing my thing and this guy just like ambushes me. He was actually like right up on me and he was like vibrating, shaking. He was it wasn't like nervousness, it was rage.
Wow.
Well, and I was back far enough so that I couldn't hear much of what was being said, but I could also include what's going on around you. And like the one lady that wouldn't cross her legs, took me a second to get that.
I saw your comment on that. You like commented on the street.
Yep.
Somebody said like, "Can you move the camera?" And you're like, "Sorry, I tried." I just edited all the footage and I didn't even see it. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where it was. But
And,
sorry if we exposed some.
she was covered. She had
Okay.
this on or something underneath.
Oops. But yeah, what was the vibe? Like that guy came at us a couple times, and I didn't even know because like watching the footage back, he was standing like 10 feet away for a while, kind of just waiting to get at me again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
Um,
whoever talked to him that told him whatever about you, and then he just assumed me, that that I don't have a mind of my own, that I only think like you do, which is
there
funny
you go.
because that's the way they are, but whatever.
I don't know if you and I have ever talked about trans stuff or DEI really. Your big thing is like urban renewal, crime. You stick to like see, like you don't get distracted. Maybe I should learn from you because I get distracted and somebody throws something in my face and I have to open my mouth and give my opinion. Maybe I should learn from you.
Well, I
Just
don't,
keep my
when we
mouth
have
shut.
women that are getting raped in
Yeah.
prison, like that's not a distraction. When you have people who are talking to minor children about their sexuality, I don't think that's a distraction. I think it's a perversion, and we should get sex clubs out of grade schools. Like it should be super basic stuff that we shouldn't have to have a conversation about. Like we shouldn't have to have a conversation about whether or not a man has an opportunity to smack a woman in the face with a volleyball during a woman's volleyball match so hard that she suffers vision impairment for the rest of her life. Like I think it is orchestrated. Probably it is a great distraction from the fact that we're all being ripped off by our government that has now like pushed all of this stuff. But like when you have two biological males competing in a women's chess championship, there aren't even any
There's
biological females left in the competition. Like
That's pretty weird. And
it's
there's a couple
gross. It's so
recently. I just
gross.
saw another one today, like a frisbee golf tournament, and then there was a pool tournament, and then in Portland the past 2 weeks there's been like a pole vaulter and the 400-meter race, and it's like, and when is it going to stop? Is this really going to go on forever?
Well,
It won't stop until
there
it's
is no
banned.
conversation with it. The more this gets exposed, the more you see that the people that agree with it cannot think for themselves and have to be told what to think, because these same people used to support women and now they don't.
Yeah.
You cannot
Strange,
change your
isn't it?
opinion and go flip flopping back and forth like this if you can think for yourself.
Well, I was asked the question in this school board interview. It was like, I think it was the school union was like was interviewing me to see if they would endorse me. And they were asking questions, and it was like, yeah, they were asking about like safety of students. Like what, you know, how does DEI and trans and the things that I maybe talk about even on the show, like how do these conversations we have, how do we have them with and still allow like the kids to feel safe, I guess was the question. Like what if kids don't, these kids that are in the LGBTQ and all the other letters now, what if they don't feel safe at school? And it's like, how are you so concerned about their safety but not concerned about just a normal young girl's safety, feeling uncomfortable going to school because she has to change or compete with a boy? Like, I don't see how those. How do you care but then not care? How do
How
you
do we get
stop
to a
caring?
point in society where we value mentally ill men over vulnerable women? Like, I don't, as a
It's
woman, I have some
Yeah,
pretty strong opinions about it.
it's worse. It's actually worse than that because a kid can say whatever innocent, hey, I like playing with dolls and I'm a boy or whatever. Something innocent. Well, the people in the school system start reinforcing it and they're not allowed to say, hey, well, maybe you just like dolls and you're still a boy. They're forced to only look at it from the side of you have to, whatever the term is that they're using for
accept it.
it, promote it.
It
You
is being
can't just,
promoted.
Well, there's like accepting it, but then yeah, they take it another step further
yeah,
and they make it like, here, I'll play a clip, and at the risk of losing an endorsement from the school board or school union or whatever. But this is their interview from 4 years ago with the school board candidates. The person talking is Arnie Roblin. That's who I'm running against right now. And but this was his answer about the LGBTQ, the same thing I just brought up. This was his answer 4 years ago.
As
Um,
a principal, I had opportunities to start a gay and lesbian club, and teachers that were willing to work with it. And there were people that were very uptight about it at the time.
did you hear it? Did the video
Yes, we
play or
did.
just audio?
I
That
heard
Okay.
about
was,
it.
so that is the principal of Marshfield, correct?
Yeah, at the he was the
Bragging.
principal. He was the principal, I think, for 25 years, and then he was in our state legislature for um 16 years, eight in two different positions.
So he's
And now he's
bragging
back on
here.
the school board. Yeah, let me play it one more time, just so people like listen to this.
As a principal, I had opportunities to start a gay and lesbian club, and teachers that were willing to work with it. And there were people that were very uptight about it at the time.
So he's bragging about bringing sex clubs into grade schools. I don't know how anyone ever thought this was a good idea. I like during my 20s and my early 30s, I lived in New York City and was doing New York City things. I didn't have kids. So I was pretty oblivious to this movement coming through schools. I didn't know.
I mean,
Um,
this was kind of he was like introducing gay clubs before it was indie, before it was cool. I mean,
I don't
that's a long time
understand
ago.
why we're organizing minor children around their sexual attraction. That's such a bizarre concept. It's so inappropriate. A
Right.
minor
And like
can't even
gay
legally
doesn't
consent
mean,
to sex. Why?
like, let's say I tend to have more guy friends than girlfriends, like for some reason. It's not a sexual attraction, so it still doesn't make me gay, but so gay and lesbian is legit just about sexuality. And yeah, that
Yes, of
doesn't,
course it is. It's about who you
I
want to
mean,
have
you can,
sex with.
that's, yeah,
That's
that a
all it
club
is.
for that, what would the, I don't know. And again, if you're concerned with people feeling safe in their own like space, their own emotional space and their thoughts and their feelings, have a club for that. Have like a club for being safe. And it should be for anybody who feels like, say I feel uncomfortable as a conservative at a school, then I should be part of that club and I should be able to voice that, hey, people don't like the way I think. People don't like it. And it makes me feel bullied and uncomfortable. But see, they exclude people and make it
Sure.
only about sexuality. And
It's
that's not
inappropriate. It's inappropriate to be organizing minor children around sexual behavior. It's super,
Yeah.
super. And I mean, I feel like some of the saying, some of the stuff, like, does it come off as prudish? Because I'm definitely not. Like, I am the queen of dick jokes. Like, let me just put that out there. Like, known for it. Well, they're funny, first of all. Let's just, I mean, they're funny. But when it comes to kids, no. Don't
Yeah.
introduce children to adult sexuality. And the thing is, like, yeah, late teens are going to do things that they probably are not like in their best interest sexually. It shouldn't be in schools. We shouldn't have clubs where children are organized according to their sexual preference in public school systems. It's
It's stuff. Yeah.
inappropriate.
But you know what's crazy? Like this right now, what we're talking about, this is controversial. Like this is this would be inappropriate at a school board meeting, most likely. Like in this
Right.
day and age.
It's
This
so
would be
weird.
like people would be like, I can't believe the two of you are like openly saying we should not have gay and lesbian clubs. It's like,
Ah,
but yep.
don't
And
make
they would be so accepting of our opinions.
it's here's an idea. Don't make who you sleep with your whole personality. Just throwing that
What do you
out there.
think, Perry?
Mm-hmm.
He just,
He doesn't give a shit.
yes, he does. He's really thinking.
No, the way I see the whole minors in trans is until you finally accept that 8-year-olds are mature enough to handle guns and smoke cigarettes and drink alcohol. Once you agree that they're mature enough for that, then they're mature enough to decide what kind of sexual person they are. You can't pick and choose what you're mature about and what you're not, and at different ages. You can't. Either your mind's mature or it's not.
It's a good point. You have like restrictions on tobacco and alcohol and guns and
Right.
all and voting and all these important life decisions, but they're, you know, not about being changing your entire gender. I mean, that's a pretty big thing. Yeah. We got to get to some of this video, right?
Yeah, get into it. I wanna
I'm got to look at these comments real quick. Tom says thinks it's a mental illness. We focus on it because it affects our children in a very evil way. I agree with that. Um, I hate saying that it's a mental illness because it sounds like you're like putting someone down, but I just truly feel like if you don't identify what it really is, can we really address it?
you can't treat
And
it, right.
it seems to me to me it's kind of like I'm not a doctor, but to me it seems like schizophrenia. Like if you think that you are multiple people, it's similar to thinking that you are a different gender. Like you're defying physics, you're defying biology and defying science. And so that's where it falls into my spectrum. But that is, I'm probably going to get burned for saying that, but
There is no
it's
other
my opinion.
treatment for any mental illness where you affirm a delusion. There isn't.
Yeah. Imagine if we told schizophrenic people that nope, they're really there. They really are. And like and then we have to talk to them. And if you don't talk to the person's other people, you're schizophobic.
And can we just like say that thinking that that the way you dress and the way you look makes you a woman is incredibly dehumanizing and incredibly misogynistic. Being a woman isn't a feeling. You're literally reducing women. When people say this stuff, they're reducing women to a commodity that can be bought. It
Wow.
is so freaking dehumanizing. So we break us up into our parts so you can buy our tits and you can buy a fake vagina and you can buy fake hair from some lady probably in a third world country who cut it off for peanuts. Like, it is so superficial and so dehumanizing to do to women.
Oh, all you have to do is look at the mathematical portions of it. What percentage are something else in the other category? And how many families have 2 or 3 multiple kids that sign off on this other category? One of them other, well, that's what? 1 in a billion? 1 in a trillion? That's mathematically, it's not possible. And there's multiple families all over the place that have this going.
Right. That have more than one, where like the parents are having some stuff. They call it trans housing by proxy.
Yeah. So
Um,
have somebody explain that, because you cannot deny the math of it.
it's
You can't.
cultural. It's taught. It's it's an intentionally disseminated ideology. Make no mistake. You can look up a whole bunch of sociological literature on the pedagogy of activism and the educator as activist, activism through teaching. This has been in the works since the 1960s. 1970s is when the Marxist stuff, the communists sympathizing, it is actually all linked to the same school of thought. And it does stem back to Maoist, Marxist, Leninist beliefs, or kind of I don't know, structures for human welfare governance, I guess. And it's this stuff has been coming for a long time, and this stuff has been disseminated through the education mechanism. So when people become a teacher, they go to college to become a teacher, right? And you take a whole bunch of social science classes. I went to Columbia University Teachers College. It's right like on the other side of the street from the main graduate campus. And the reason I went to that separate school is because my degree is in applied psychology, but I went to the same school that educates teachers. Now, when I went there, this theory that is being applied prescriptively was looked at as just that. It's theory. It's a lens to analyze through. What has happened is people who are maybe not so bright took these ideas and ran with them and thought, you know what? We should actually do this. And so teachers took this ideology that they were taught through sociological theory in their education programs, and then they began to disseminate it in their classes. They actually began to espouse those beliefs in the materials that they teach. And that's now it's come to fruition during COVID, when we had all of the lockdowns and people stopped going out into public, and they basically had a captive audience where this stuff could get pumped into kids. This ideology could be pumped through social media, and it was largely through TikTok, was used peer generated. It is, yep, he's right, it was through TikTok, and they just kind of like ran with it. Now, whether the Chinese did that intentionally, I am betting, like, I would put all my money on absolutely this was done on purpose, because the Chinese TikTok algorithm is different
It's
from the US
instead
algorithm.
of nuclear weapons, they're sitting there like, push the trans button. Make them
Yeah.
trans and gay. They'll blow themselves up.
Yeah.
They'll
Well,
ruin their
so
whole society. We'll watch. It'll be amazing.
yeah, if you go on
Maybe.
Chinese TikTok, it's all math and science and like educational
Oh, wow.
materials. You go on and then so I mean, we're all aware of what's on the US. Go on Libs of TikTok if you want to see
I
some.
do not go on TikTok.
Libs
Yeah,
of
can't
TikTok
do it.
it's, I believe, a Twitter account that basically takes these their own videos and just reposts them and is like, you guys got to see this. And some of them are actually like kind of horrifying. It's all pretty disturbing stuff. But make no mistake, this stuff did not end up in schools by accident. So when we
Yeah.
have people who are bragging about bringing sex clubs into our grade schools, we should really like look at where it's gotten us.
Yep. Yeah. Jeff says it's on X as well. Oh, geez. So many platforms.
Libs of
All right.
the Libs of TikTok is on there.
We got to move on and do these videos. We're gonna talk about this stuff for forever. And if anybody's like, oh my gosh, they're so wrong, I can't believe they're saying all this stuff, it's so hateful, and what, why don't you check your own views a little bit, like do some
Come on the
research on the
show.
other side, and
Prove it's
yeah,
wrong.
or
If you disagree with
come
us and
prove
think
us
we're
wrong.
so
Oh,
wrong,
I'm sure they've got studies and anecdotal evidence. It's anyways, but
I've read the
all right,
studies. I'd love to have conversations about them.
yeah. We Rob and I tried to get we I don't want to get into it. We went to a misinformation seminar at the North Bend Library on Saturday. A media literacy course was what it was called. The woman running the program is trans, so she's a man now. Misinformation. Like I really didn't get that. Like, how you're misinforming people every day. And she's a biologist. She's got her PhD. She's a scientist. I can't. I don't. Rob and I got into it on his show. So if you guys want to watch the Rob Taylor report from Monday, I was on there and I talk
That
about
was a
it.
good show.
I
I
don't.
did watch that. It was a
I do
good
not
one.
want to talk about it again. Very. We're, we've got crime and like real things to solve. But before we do that, we will solve this rally. So the Democrats threw a big rally all across the nation, millions and millions of people apparently. And in Coos Bay, they actually really did have quite a bit of people. Like, I don't know, Perry, what do you think? 200-300 people?
Yeah, the Democrats are saying almost 500.
Yeah, that's a little rich, but um, I think it was about 200 or 300 when we were there at least, and we were there for an hour. It was impressive. That's impressive to have that many people out there. But how did you get them out there? What did you tell them? How much have you brainwashed them to get them into feeling that it's appropriate to spend their beautiful Saturday afternoon uh, with ridiculous signs on the Coos Bay Boardwalk? So I'll start playing this, and I'm sure we'll stop right away. Just throw your hands up, and I'm sure. I think there's like 10 segments. I tried to find good ones. So,
Perfect.
Hi, it's Chris Castleman here from the Coos County Citizen Council. We're here in Coos Bay, Oregon on the southern coast, and we're going to go to a democracy rally. Let's go.
ooh,
Our homeless have had brain injuries. They've had traumatic brain injuries.
They're not thinking properly.
Yeah, they don't know it, and so they're self-medicating with meth and alcohol.
Where do you think they get the meth from?
Oh gosh, it's easy to get.
Do you think it's coming across our southern border?
No,
All
no,
right.
they're making it here in Coos County, man.
All right. Do you
I
disagree
don't
with the
think
way
that
the
lady knows where meth comes from. I'm just going to throw that out there.
no, she used to be no,
No, it's
no.
made in
And
Coos
then,
County.
well, then I asked her, I said, where do they, I go, so what neighborhoods in Coos County? And she goes, oh, I don't know. I don't ask. It's like, well, do you know or not know? Like either you know it's made here and you know what neighborhoods, or you don't know that it's made here. Anyway, what were you saying, Perry?
Every neighborhood makes it.
Yeah, I'm sure it's made here, but drugs come across our southern border. The no, like, yeah, come on, lady. But that she actually, I don't know if you remember, Perry, she spoke at the Egyptian Theater when we had that big event. She was one of the last speakers, and she went off on this rant about all about mental illness and stuff, which is a thing, but it's not all of the cases. So
Do you disagree with the way the president's eliminating positions and branches?
Absolutely, that's the problem.
Do you think the president should have the ability to fire people?
This is not what the founders intended.
So were you
Nothing
upset
like
when the Biden administration fired nurses and military members over the COVID vaccine?
That's a tough one. Because we weren't paying attention to it. We weren't paying attention.
Yeah, I don't think.
That's so offensive. The fact that
because
they
we
have
weren't
such,
paying attention.
that is so offensive. Like the fact that's so ignorant, and I would be so embarrassed. The fact that they're standing there rallying now against perceived injustices while they ignored previous, those mandates ruined people's lives because they didn't want to take an experimental vaccine. And I'm not even going to get into the repercussions of being for people. Vaccine injuries are a real thing, whether people want to. And I just wanted to add something, Chris. Mexico is the principal source of foreign produced methamphetamine available in the United States. And I'm still digging for how much meth in the United
No,
States.
no,
I know, isn't that
no.
wild?
You
Like, who would
probably
have
read that on
guessed?
Fox News. That's
Actually came
that's
from the Department of
misinformation.
Justice.
That's run by Trump now. Yeah, crazy. Perry, Mike and Diana's kid, a couple years ago, after high school, decides to go. I think he was going to be in the Navy, and they tried to mandate him get the vaccine, and he refused. And do you remember hearing that? And then he was like, they wouldn't let him leave either, so he just had to sit in the barracks for like 6 months, and then they finally sent him back home, and then the time had lapsed to where it was okay to not have the vaccine, so then he was able to come back. It's just like, what a horrible experience to someone putting their life on the line to fight for our country.
I know
And I
so
brought
many
this up
people.
when I ran for commissioner. I brought this up during the League of Women Voters debate with Drew Farmer. And do you know that Drew Farmer said that wasn't true, that didn't happen, that no military members were fired for not taking the vaccine?
Mhm. Yeah.
But our side is accused of misinformation. I mean, and he's a military member. He's a vet.
Mhm.
This is the world we live in. I can't even. I should find that interview somewhere. I'm sure it's on YouTube.
I just find it so wild that like people feel so comfortable picking and choosing what they feel so strongly about, to the point where they become, first of all, their privilege is showing that they get to just like pick and choose and like be sheltered from the reality of like injustices and like the hypocrisy of it, of just kind of, oh, I have a problem with this control over people, or but I didn't have a problem with it's just
There
it's
were some
gross
people
on
I
so
I
many.
didn't put in here because I did ask, like, I don't know, at least 5 people. I said, because they were complaining about overreach and firing people, and I was like, okay. So I said the same thing over. Were you okay when Biden fired people? And there were some people who said no, I wasn't okay with that either. So it wasn't everybody out there. There are some people who are paying attention, and I was impressed. There were some people who were willing to admit that, like, no, I didn't think that was okay. Harry, you had something to
Did
say.
you ask any of them how exactly we're supposed to cut $2 trillion of overspending off of our annual budget without
I did.
firing
Yep.
people?
That's coming up. Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
I got that in here. What were you gonna say, Ferry?
They're not. It has nothing to do with them deciding what they're going to pay attention to and what they're not. They're clueless unless they're told to think. I really believe that. They have no idea. I mean, just listening to these answers tells you that they don't know what they're there for.
You were filming and you were pretty far back, so you didn't get to hear almost any of this. Is this the first time you're listening to this stuff?
This stuff I did hear, but yeah, there's a lot of it that I didn't hear.
That's great, man. I think you would have just packed up and left. I would have been left there by myself if you had heard some of this shit.
And it is,
Um,
according to Kansas.gov, most of the methamphetamine available in the US is produced in Mexico by drug trafficking organizations and smuggled across the border.
how dare you admit the truth? How dare you find facts?
I
How dare
just,
you do independent research and spend the time finding the real answers? How dare you?
how could you stand on the street and hold up a sign and speak to a man with a camera in your face and say something so stupid? I urge that woman to please reach out to me and explain yourself, because I would love to hear how someone feels so strongly about something that they can just Google and answer.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah, mentally ill people self-medicating. Yeah. I think she thinks that, like, the rich white people are getting the meth from Mexico because it's like better quality, and then the mentally ill people that are homeless, all her homeless friends are getting the, like, made in the bathtub meth.
I can
I
tell
think,
you,
that might be what she says.
uh, I know for a fact that wealthy people don't use meth because they can afford better drugs.
Tom's got someone on the inside. He says we don't make it here anymore. I believe him.
No, because I get caught. And it was so easy to smuggle it over the border the last 4 years that why bother?
Do you think the president should have the ability to fire people?
This is not what the founders intended.
Sesame Street.
Where? Darn it! Sorry. This is hard to. I got a very tiny little.
Gotta get the
This
elephant.
is exactly what
Yeah,
the founders
JD
intended.
Vance, all he does is lie.
He does?
He
What does
gets
lie
on
about?
camera and lies all the time.
Oh, I haven't heard him lie, but I don't watch the news.
He
that
lied
much.
about the immigrants eating the cats and dogs. That was a
did
flat
happen.
lie. He admitted it.
Do people from other countries eat cats and dogs?
Do I give a shit?
Okay, I'm just wondering.
Like how can you cared about something enough to bring it up, and
Right.
then when I ask you, is it possible that they do? You know, like you're talking about immigrants. Where do they come from? Immigrants come from other parts of the world, and do they eat cats and dogs in other parts of the world? And he's like, do I give a shit?
Tell you what, if I was hungry, I would eat just about anything.
Oh
Like,
my
no
goodness!
shade, no judgment. You're hungry, you got to eat what's available for you to eat. But the idea of, I mean, it was they get some police reports that stuff really did happen. And there were people at city council meetings talking about having seen like people snatching geese out of the water to eat. And that's what happens when it's a failure to properly assimilate people, which is what happens when you do something shady like mass import a bunch of illegals.
Well, and it would have come up before, like in the decades past. That would be like a typical racist thing to say that, oh, they eat cats and dogs. And like I've
Right.
heard that, like at a the Chinese restaurant, they cook up horse, like I've heard that one, but like never somebody legitimately alleging it to like the news. And I just it doesn't pass the smell test. It just, like it certain I don't know. I don't even need to look into it. And again, I asked the guy, like, okay, well, is it even plausible? Like you're denying it at face value. Is it plausible? And he's like, do I give a shit? It's just stupid.
I mean, you should.
Uh
You should. If you're out on the street protesting, you should probably care about the whole issue, not just like the part of the issue that interests you.
yeah. I also don't see Vance as being somebody who doesn't talk about something unless he knows the facts.
He's pretty-
Maybe I'm watching too much Fox News.
He gets a little canned for me. Like he is very canned, rehearsed political answers, but off the
Yeah.
cuff, he still does know his stuff.
He also like defended it repeatedly. I just don't see him as somebody. Didn't he go to Harvard or Yale? I mean, like, come on, people. But I don't know.
I don't
Maybe
know.
I'm just some racist. I don't know. Let's get
Don't tax the cookies. What does
More.
that mean, Cookie Monster?
That's attack on Sesame Street right there,
Yeah, Trump was attacking Sesame Street?
for sure.
What did he do to attack them?
Cutting funding.
Not. They're working for
cutting funding is somehow an attack. I don't totally get
I
that
still
one.
don't understand. Like, yeah, I love Sesame Street, don't get me wrong, but you know what I love more than Sesame Street? Not being in debt and not going
Or like,
deeper and
why
deeper into
isn't
debt.
Sesame Street a private? Isn't that a private business?
No,
It's a
it was
show.
PBS when I was a kid, but they were cutting, I think it was a Sesame Street program, the funding for it in Iran. Wasn't that
But
it?
it's kind of like a grant. Doesn't like I just don't think that like Sesame Street is a government employee. Like Big Bird and Oscar the
was on
Grouch don't work for the
PBS.
government.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it was funded through the public broadcasting network, or at least it was when I was a kid and watched it.
I'll also
but
do more
the-
research on this one. Brandy's doing it as we speak. What do you think, Perry? What do you think? Is taking down Sesame Street like grounds for impeachment?
No, no. But you know, he's not allowed to choose where money goes. I guess there's no requirements. Just keep forking it over. No questions asked.
Jeff says Chris was admonished for not asking questions to the people trained to answer questions. How dare
Right?
I? I'm sure I'm going to get shit for even putting them on the show. And oh, he's making fun of them. He just filmed them to put them on his show and make fun of them. But
When you go, when
maybe
you're at
next time come
protests,
to the rally with like facts and logic,
facts
and
and
so
be
I won't be able to
correct.
do this. And I've been to
Because
rallies
there's,
before, and I
yeah.
welcome people to come up and film me and then put me on their show and make fun of me all you want. I don't, just go for it. Like, you're in a public place. Sorry, we were talking over one another. What's up, Brandy?
No, that's okay. I was just kind of like agreeing with you. So I'm looking here and it looks like Sesame Street in the United States is facing significant budget cuts and layoffs. It says it's a combination of factors, including a loss of a lucrative streaming contract and changing media and funding landscapes. So it is not just the fact that Trump is defunding Sesame Street. There is several other factors that appear to be going into that are contributing to it.
But why can't Sesame Street be a private enterprise? Like Teletubbies, like I don't even know kid shows. Nickelodeon,
Yeah,
Disney, like these are I think the world will go on without Sesame Street. I
like what
think
is so
I think we'll be
significant
fine.
about that, right? Where we need to actually go into debt for it. Like, and people are, well, it's only this little amount of money. Dude, a $7 Starbucks a day adds up to, what is 7 times 30? Quick, somebody is good at math, right? So you've got
210.
$210 a month on Starbucks.
Jinx.
You know how many people go broke? Like doing that kind of crap? I know of someone who we did his budget and he was spending $400 a month on Red Bull.
I don't want to do my math.
So what you
Barry drinks that much.
it wasn't Perry.
No, I
but,
don't. No, I don't.
And so, these
That's
little
funny.
amounts of money that you spend every day add up to debt and poverty. And so, like, we're not shaming you, Perry. If you can afford it, you
I don't
rock
care.
out with your Red Bull wings out.
This was not rehearsed. We didn't bring you on the show to shame your Red Bull.
So this guy was struggling to pay his mortgage. It was like a bad situation. And I'm like, well, so the first step is to cut, and it was like $700 in chew. You know what I mean? Chewing tobacco. And so all of these little things, like we're going deeper and deeper into debt every year as a nation. It's not the right fiscal choice for us. And so choices have to be made. So we have to cut Red Bull from the budget, you guys.
We all have our vices. I've got seed packets everywhere. Okay. These things, this is a Red Bull and this is a Red Bull. These are like $5. So everybody has their vices. Okay.
Listen, if you're not putting yourself into debt to buy your $400 worth of seeds every month, Chris, like if you by all means spend your money on what you can afford to spend it on. But like if you're putting the seeds or the Red Bull on a credit card, like maybe dial back. And so that's basically what we're doing is we're putting a bunch of stuff on a giant credit card and we have to cut it all. Like it's all got to come off, you guys. It's 2 trillion a year that we are putting on our children. We're putting on us because that bill is going to come due in our lifetime. And I worry about getting old because we're going to be old people who how are we going to provide for ourselves? What kind of economic landscape are we going to exist in? And it's scary because you have these young people that are like, put it on credit, drive up the debt, and we're just careening for the cliff. I think we're at the cliff, and I don't know what to tell people. Like, I love Sesame Street too, but we have to cut back our government spending. That and government
We
shouldn't
also
be
have to
running the
understand
economic show.
what things can be done privately and what things can't. Like television and entertainment can be done privately.
Yes, and it
We
should
also
be.
don't necessarily want government control over entertainment and things like that. But I guess they would say that it's education. I don't know. I think it's kind of I don't know. I don't know. But Cheryl says don't judge. I'm being admonished.
I can't help it.
I
I'm
didn't judge. I just thought it
INTJ.
was funny. I thought it was funny that Brandy had no idea what she was saying.
So I almost died.
I shouldn't say
from
that.
Red
You
Bull one
always know
time,
what you're saying. You just didn't know that
and
Perry.
I haven't touched
But
them
you know what,
since
Perry? You used that
2011.
Red Bull. You haven't touched Red Bull since 2011.
No, I almost died. I don't know what happened.
There, I can only drink like half an 8-ounce Red Bull, so, or I am bouncing off the walls. But you
I
know
had
what?
a big one,
Pe-
and I passed out. I actually like fell on the ground unconscious. I hit my head on a pool table and stuff. It was crazy. And I was at work. I was bartending, and my customers had to pick me up. And like, I had a friend who's a paramedic who came and got me and took me home and kind of hung out with me. And there was like no explanation. I don't know what it was, but I never touched Red Bull again.
I think they taste like Smarties,
They do, yeah.
like liquid Smarties. Uh, anyways, Perry works hard. He works his ass off, so he's entitled.
I think Perry can afford like the
Entitled to
Red
it.
Bull he wants to drink too, because I imagine that Perry is frugal and careful with his money. He spends responsibly.
Perry, do you want a minute to defend yourself?
Nope, I'm good.
He's like,
He
when
knows-
are
he
these
knows he's-
trolls gonna move on? Click the play button.
Street.
For sure.
What did he do to attack them?
Cutting funding.
Not. They're working for the billionaires.
Okay. Elon Musk.
Elon Musk is running shit. Yes.
Are you happy with Elon Musk and all the
He
efficiency?
needs to
he's
not be
getting?
here. What is he even doing here? He's not even American. He needs to go.
Oh,
Like,
geez.
of course
You wanna
not.
pause it right
Of
there?
course I'm not happy with him.
If people are
Okay, so let's talk about bigotry, shall we? Elon Musk became
You know,
a
I
citizen.
asked her about that, and I said, "Well, so you mean illegal, like immigrants shouldn't be here?" And she was like, "What?" She was like offended that I would say that, but she just said that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Elon became a citizen in 2002. So what is she communicating here? Either A, she's ignorant, which kind of a theme, and she doesn't know what she's talking about. Again, that's kind of a theme with people at this rally. But really think about what she's saying when she says that, because she does go on to say that she makes a few more comments, I believe, if I remember correctly. But what she's saying is that an immigrant who becomes the United States citizen shouldn't be able to have political power in our country. I mean, we do have
Yep.
some laws against the presidential seat and things like that. But what she's communicating is kind of that immigrants are second-class citizens, that immigrants have fewer rights and privileges. Even an immigrant who has become a naturalized citizen takes a seat beneath an American. And I would just like to read the definition of bigotry, because I think some people should hear it. Probably not people tuning into our show, but if someone is foolish enough to watch this, and maybe some of the people that are at the rally are a little masochistic and want to punish themselves with bigotry, an obstinate or unreasonable attachment to a belief, opinion, or faction in a particular prejudice against a person or people on the basis of their membership of a particular group. Sorry, I kind of botched that. So on the basis of their membership to a particular group. Like, do we not see the hypocrisy? Do we not see the bigotry? Do we not see like the prejudice?
I think she saw it. Like you could tell the mood changed when I threw it back at her. I think she spoke out of anger about somebody, and then when I threw it back at her that doesn't carry weight once you follow through with it, that if you apply that to everybody, not just the people you hate, that it doesn't work. And it kind of escalated from there. They got pretty mad at me about some
Of course
stuff.
they
It just
did,
kind of,
because they had to face
because they
their
were,
own
yeah.
sickness. I mean, that's sick. So what she's saying is
Well, they
basically
were wrong. They had to be wrong. And that
he
made them
has the
upset.
right
So,
to decide which immigrant is worthy of possessing power in the United States and which isn't.
right.
How
Right.
wild is that? And if I had said that
It's,
on camera, I
yeah.
would be very embarrassed too. That's not a nice
There
thing
was a
to
unique
say.
theme throughout the whole. One thing that I was shocked throughout the whole thing was anytime we brought up immigration, they collectively were under the impression that um, it is good to get illegal immigrants out of the country and to stop illegal immigration, which is like, whoa, like Democrats don't normally say that. But because they thought that Trump is only removing legal immigrants. They kept saying that he's going after legal immigrants, people who are like citizens. They've come here legally, they have legal status, and he's going after them. That was new. I've never heard that one.
It's so it's hard to they are correct in their screwed up way of viewing it because of all them loopholes and how the administration did all that weird, hey, maybe come back in 90 days when we're ready to have court, but you don't actually have to show up for court, and all of that is a
Right. Their definition of legal is different than probably
Right.
the real definition.
yeah.
And we did get into that with, actually it was these girls, because they were saying, I gave them an example. So somebody just comes across the border, is that legal immigration? They're like, well, as long as they, declare that they seek asylum and stuff, then it is. And it's like, no, that still isn't. That's not legal. And
I'm getting a theme
people
from
can
these
watch the full
people that
video.
they kind of make up what they think the rules are. And if they
You
don't
think they would
agree
make
with
up facts to suit their narrative?
I
You
don't know,
think
man.
that
I don't know.
But once again, it's not them
they
making
wouldn't
it
do
up.
that.
It's not
Seems
them making it up.
suspicious.
And just for the record, there are other sides that do this too, and they're called extremists, and they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there are extremists in every corner of the world, and when you're an extremist, you make up facts to suit your narrative. So it's not just the Democrats. I'm sure I could find a conservative, pretty alt-right rally and find some really dumb things that people are saying and thinking as well. Maybe I'll do that
It's
just to
bad.
be
It's
fair.
actually
I'm going to
super
take a lot
annoying.
of shit for that one, but
Oh well, might as well piss everybody off.
we'll
while
do
we're
it.
at
I'll do it in California or something.
It's the thing is it when people on the right do this stuff too, all they're doing is like becoming what they hate. And it sucks when you go online and you see stuff that, like, you have to now fact check everything. You have to go on and Google it. And then you realize that this person posted something that is blatantly untrue. And it's just like, can you guys maybe, and so there are the people that are doing it on purpose because rage bait is like the hot thing right now. But there are also like average people who are sharing stuff that is just not true. And it's like, you could have done a 30-second Google search before you shared this and like showed it to all of us. And it's just a sucky thing to do. Like, Google it before you post it on Facebook for hundreds of people to like now think maybe not so great of you.
Yeah. Well, I thought I did a pretty fair job interviewing people. After I posted it, Facebook must have like analyzed my video, and it was sending stuff similar all weekend and past couple days my way, playing all these videos of other people around the country doing interviews like this. And
wow.
those people are much more aggressive than I am. Like they're it just didn't feel like I was argumentative. Like I was definitely
No.
countering. I was definitely putting an alternative viewpoint out there, but I didn't really feel like I was being argumentative like some of these other videos, and I wasn't being rude, but I'm sure it's in the eye of the beholder.
No, you guys did a
Um,
great
what do you
job. You
I
guys
tried to
had
be nice.
you gave them room to just talk, which is what we need. We need to hear each other because whether you agree or disagree is besides the point. We need to hear them, hear what they actually think and say. And so, you were saying about they're deporting it sucks. The New York Times has a a
A
block on it.
paywall?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I can't even, but so the headline is Trump's deportation agenda expands to legal immigrants. Now, I have personally, in my previous work, when I lived in New York City, I worked on things like I was a systems analyst, political systems analyst. I caught the New York Times in a couple of lies. Like I knew that they lied. They took information and they omitted bits to spin a narrative a specific way. They cherry picked and they did it on purpose. And I caught them doing it twice. And I caught Forbes doing it too. And I can't read the whole article though. I'm definitely not going to give the New York Times a single penny.
Well,
But
Yeah.
that's an
Oh,
easy
sorry.
claim to make. That's just too easy. It's
I think that's where
um,
they're getting this information.
d-
Sorry, Perry.
just because you're a legal immigrant doesn't mean you're not a part of a gang or something.
It's a good
So
point.
you
Can't
might
you
have your
violate
green
your
card.
immigration status? Like you could
Mm-hmm.
have been here legally, but there's
Mhm.
terms. It's
Mm-hmm.
not just you're not granted citizenship
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
magically. Um,
I can't read the article. I would love to see if they actually expand and explain themselves. Like you're
yeah.
right, Perry. You probably hit it right on the money there. But that's where these people are getting this information. These people are acting the way they are because of what they're being told by mass media. Where the three of us kind of look around us and see what we see. I look to research articles. Perry is experiencing it firsthand. Chris, you dig through every government document that is available. These people are getting their information from the mass media. And so when you
I
do
actually like
ask,
going over to the other side sometimes. Like I looked up DEI and I was like, I want to look it up on CNN. I want to know what CNN
yeah,
says about it so
yeah,
I know what they're thinking about it.
yeah.
But
Because that's what we used to do. I was a part of I guess they're called like war room meetings. So when candidates are running for office, or when you have a candidate or someone who's in office and they're going to respond to something that happened, we literally sit down in a big room at a big oval table with a giant flat screen TV and watch the news. Because before that politician responds, they're gonna like want to take in and know what the public is being told so that
yeah,
they know how to appeal to the public. Basically, how to tell people what they want to hear,
I think
which
I've
isn't
read
right, but
and
it is.
watched more CNN through the pandemic than anything else because I very much wanted to know what kind of ridiculousness they were hearing. But
Yeah.
Of course I'm not happy with him.
If people aren't, how can we make our government more efficient without firing people?
Oh my gosh. Well, okay, so this is a question that I think that a lot of people in the federal government think a lot about. That's a hard question to just have
Of
a
course,
one
it's a hard
single answer
question.
for.
It's hard to cut waste without cutting it.
It is,
No
yeah.
kings.
it's hard to cut waste without cutting it, right?
And it's not, I hate to call it waste because stuff like the Sesame Street, like that would be great to fund, right? But if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. We have a $2 trillion deficit.
Yeah.
Like, we cannot keep down this path, so stuff has to go. And I really love that these people on the street they have all these demands, but they have no solutions. That's
Yeah, she didn't really have much. But like I will say, like not I don't expect everyone to have an answer, but at least, maybe if you don't have the answer, you shouldn't be criticizing too hard.
I agree.
I don't know.
If you
But
if you
yep. Go ahead.
if you're mad enough to go to a protest and make up signs and all of this, you sure the hell better know what you're upset about, and you sure the hell better be able to defend it. Plain and simple. Don't go there and flip people off and cuss people out that don't agree with you when you have no idea what you're there for.
That is one thing we actually didn't capture too much of. There's a lot of craziness going on at these things. A lot of screaming and yelling and cursing and just kind of like incivility. And we didn't, my intention was to try and understand these people on a more intellectual level. So that's what we were filming. But there was a lot of stuff that we could have filmed.
Did you pick up on
Um,
a lot of hostility, Chris? Like, not toward you generally, but directly, but more generally, just hostility. And
I
I
mean,
would say not just anger, but like unmitigated kind of violence
if
and
I had worn a
hatred.
red
Like,
hat for sure. Like,
People drove by with
Saw
Trump
that.
flags and they were
Yeah.
screaming and yelling and they were mad, really mad.
I mean,
You
I
guys
know
weren't.
after Trump was shot, I went to a Trump rally, like just a rally for the president, and right there at the Coos Bay boardwalk. And I mean, it was like the next day, the man had been shot. Yeah, I mean, a little bit, but you know what I mean. It
Sure.
could have been really bad, really, really bad. And there were people who would drive by screaming like, "Fuck Trump! I hope I hope he dies." Like he should have been shot. He should have been killed. Like just awful, awful stuff. It's like, and we wouldn't really yell back. It's very different. I
You
would
guys,
challenge these people to come to a conservative rally and see what you think.
I bet. Okay, so do you guys want to get into identity stuff? Not identity politics. This is psychological identity stuff. You ready to hear some shit?
Go for it.
Okay, so there's something
The
that
short
happens
version.
when, a person,
Is there a short version?
yeah, there it kind of. So a person's identity, who they are as a person, can become based on their beliefs, right? And so when you challenge those, so they're intermingled, they're intertwined, and a lot of times this happens for not the healthiest reasons, right? But so there's a commingling of the sense of self identity with beliefs. So what happens when you challenge those beliefs, you actually challenge the core of who that person thinks they are. And so what you're doing is presenting them with a kind of existential death. It is perceived as an identity annihilation. And so it's almost perceived as an actual physical threat to their body because their sense of self can cease to exist. That's why those people became so hostile with you when they couldn't answer your questions or when they realized that their beliefs towards Elon extrapolated were terrible bigotry. So once they were confronted with that incongruence with who they believe themselves to be versus their actual actions, you witnessed a mini, not an ego death, I wouldn't call it, but a little mini existential death. And that's why they got upset with you. It triggered a survival kind of response in them. And so when you see, and this is super dangerous, it gets into like when you're talking about people becoming violent, wishing death upon Trump. So the way they justify it in their mind is that that threat to their existential being. They are perceiving ideological change as a self death. And this is something that needs to be talked about because we're looking at political extremism. It's teetering on the edge of, I mean, they tried to shoot Trump twice. Like, it's already passed over into the violence. And there's some other stuff that you could bring up too. But so that's kind of
The
the
eldest guy said that
underpinning.
he was going to get violent. If you watch the full video on our YouTube, he said what it was like. He said they're gonna get violent, and then I was like, have they become dictators yet? And he was like, well, they have. And then I'm like, so then why aren't so you are getting violent now? And he's like, no, I don't know. It was confusing. It was all over the place, but he was essentially saying that if stuff doesn't change, that he's going to get violent or they're going to get violent or something. I don't really believe him, but
Because each
I do.
individual opinion matters more than anything else.
Little bit of narcissism laced up in there. I get to decide which immigrants have power. I get to decide who deserves violence inflicted on them. I get to decide who's a dictator and who's not.
But nobody can tell you that you're going to be the one that is somebody's going to kill. Oh no!
Right.
Then you're at the police station begging for help. No, he said something horrible.
do you
You
mean to
know the
say that these
feeling.
people can get triggered?
Well, you know, to be fair, anybody can get triggered, right? It's just like what triggers you and how do you deal with getting triggered?
Well, it sounds like if
Um,
you don't live in a fantasy world, then you have no problems with your reality.
Correct. Correct. And a lot of the stuff is not rooted in reality. A lot of the stuff is just living in people's imaginations.
No to Russian assets. The Republican Party is the new Nazi party. Wow, that's a statement. Do you mind if I ask you some questions? I'm
Oh,
here
I've
on
heard
Facebook
this guy,
Live.
man.
What does your sign mean to you?
What it means to me is my wife's grandparents all died in Auschwitz. My wife's mother was always afraid it could happen here again. She escaped.
My family escaped Nazi
Okay.
Germany
And
as
this
well.
is what's happened.
Has the Trump administration killed people like in mass like the Hitler and the...
Not yet.
Not yet? You
Not
think
yet.
So he didn't accomplish it his first 4 years, but now he's going to come back and do it?
He didn't try in his first war. He's trying
What
now.
group of people do you think he's going to murder in mass?
Immigrants.
That was interesting, that last sign. I think we live in a country where no matter what you believe in, what side you're on, red, blue, anything, that you would stand up against mass murder and an extermination of illegal immigrants. I think that sign's a little ridiculous, but that's just my opinion. I like hearing other people's opinions. I like getting out here and talking to people and seeing what they're about. It's pretty interesting. Do you mind if I ask you a few?
Anyway, that was too much
That's
commentary
sad.
for me.
I mean, the guy, you look at him, he doesn't look like he gets out much. He doesn't look like he's super mobile. He probably spends an enormous amount of time in front of the television. And if I'm wrong, I will apologize, but I would probably bet a meager savings that I'm right.
It was just a ridiculous sign. I mean, of all the things you could protest about or put on a sign, of all the important things going on in our world, that apparently was your 5 minutes of fame.
I
So
don't know.
where do you think a guy comes? How do you think a guy like comes to a conclusion like that?
I don't know how
Very.
you can. I don't know how you can. I'm sure maybe you could say Hitler's mustache is somehow. People have that kind of mustache somewhere nowadays, and you could call Nazi and make a comparison, but there's nothing but ridiculous comparisons. There's nothing, not one factual, legitimate comparison can be made. And
I have an admission when you're done. I didn't know.
no,
I admit I have called someone a Nazi in the past couple years. When I had my restaurant during COVID, they came with a $10,000 daily fine to shut me down if I did not follow their guidelines of what to put where and how to cover my face and do one and do this and do that. And the
Let me guess,
lady's
this was under the
excuse when
Biden
I,
administration, not Trump, right?
how'd you know? And um, actually, I mean, this was my county. This was in California, and this was
Mhm.
all from the county. This wasn't the state or the federal government, but
Gotcha.
this was June 2020. So this actually was under Trump. And I was actually pretty mad at Trump about this stuff. He didn't defend us. He didn't help our small businesses in that aspect. We were screwed by our county government. But anyways, it was a county health officer who had, deputized some lady to come and give me a
Right.
$10,000 a day fine. So
And
$10,000, and I'm looking at her and I go,
that county officer is not an elected official.
no, the
Yeah.
county health official is like appointed by, similar to our board of commissioners, and then
Yeah.
they had hired I think it was actually a code enforcement officer who was enforcing the health code, that was under like emergency, or they could just do whatever. We lost Brandy, but she'll be back. Anyways, so we there she is. We don't follow the orders. We didn't wear masks. We didn't, force people to do this or that, or where to stand, or stay 6 feet from one another. Anyways, and we get a $10,000 a day fine. And I'm looking, I'm like, ma'am, like, put all the other stuff aside. Like, do you think $10,000 is reasonable? Like, do you think, is this maybe a little bit ridiculous? Maybe like I make like $1,000 to $2,000 a day in revenue.
Gross. Right.
So you think $10,000, and she's all like, it's not about me. It's this. I don't have anything to do with you. And I'm like, do you understand that I'm the only restaurant in? Yeah, I'm like, I'm the only restaurant in town open. There's a meat supplier down the street that used to have a lot more employees, but now they only have a few. And if they lose my ground beef contract, they're going out of business. So that was a burger place. And I'm like, and I get lettuce from this old lady who grows it on her farm locally. What is she going to do with it? So I'm like, do you understand the impact of this decision to try and shut me down? You guys get it. I don't need to explain it. It was like over and over. It wasn't her. She was just following orders. I'm just following orders over and over and over. She's just following orders.
Nuremberg of her.
So when I called her a Nazi, that was it. She was done. The $10,000 fine stuck, and she, left. So ridiculous. But so sorry, Perry. I called someone a Nazi. I'm a jerk. I'm the same kind of people that you don't like. Yeah, no place for that in our society. But it was like, how could you ignore that was ridiculous fascism, but now it apparently is? I don't understand the two.
But that's how their mind works. If you can label somebody some horrible thing like a Nazi, then you don't have to debate them, because you can't debate them. And you don't have to
Projection.
You don't even have to admit they're alive, because they're a horrible person, and you labeled them this horrible person, and it is their way of being able to continue to live in their fantasy world, because they don't have to argue and debate with somebody who is actually right, and they don't have to admit they're wrong.
You said something that really kind of like made my little feelers go up, that they don't have to treat them as a person. It's a dehumanization tactic, so that their abuse is justified. So if you dehumanize someone, if you make someone out to be a monster, then you can mistreat them and justify it in your own mind.
Mm-hmm.
That's not good. We shouldn't be doing that to people.
I think I owe someone an apology from 2020. She was okay following orders.
I think she wasn't, and I think you actually should have called her a Nazi, and I think you did the right thing, because she was behaving. I mean, when you're doing something that's clearly wrong, I don't know. It is. It's very Nuremberg. It is very just following orders, and I feel like You were actually kind of not, I mean, you weren't trying to dehumanize her so that you could abuse her. You were calling her a Nazi because you were describing the draconian, methodology behind their control.
The following year, so like after the bad winter, the following like spring, our county in California, it was Mendocino County, they, because it was the vaccine thing then, it was you could only eat indoors at a restaurant if you had the vaccine. So you had to show your vaccine card, and that allowed you to have the special privilege of eating inside. And in order to show which restaurants were most compliant, they had like 3 tiers of compliance, and they wanted to encourage people to be like super compliant. They had a red circle. You would get a $10,000 fine if you didn't put this in your window. You had to have this in the window of your restaurant. It was a red circle if you weren't following all the protocols. It was and then it was a green square if you were following the highest, and the yellow star was for people who were not following the vaccine mandate. It was like 3 tiers. And people were like, when they announced this, they did it at like a town hall thing or something, and they went, yellow star? Like, are you insane? And they changed it to yellow something else. But yeah, like the yellow star here, don't follow our orders and wear the yellow star. They're not, yeah, they're not Nazis. Oh boy, it was bad. And I should find that video because people probably don't believe me. And I didn't even believe it. I wasn't even in town at the time. And somebody sent it to me and I go, no way, that's fake. And it was real. They want it. So they quickly changed that one. But yep, yellow star if you don't follow the vaccine mandate.
Now, I think it was COVID that fully like is it black pill, red pill?
Red pilled. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
I
Matrix.
think it finally like it was the way COVID was handled because that it sent me. I saw people do things that I never thought would happen in the United States that I had only read about in books, and it was kind of horrifying.
Yep. We should do a whole segment on how ridiculous COVID was.
Well, and the fact that these people now, and don't get me wrong, I'm fully pro-choice. Like, I really am very, very, I think there should be restrictions on, if the baby can live outside the womb, let it live. But I'm fully pro-choice. My problem is people who wanted to force a vaccine on people during COVID are now screaming, my body, my choice. Like, where the fuck were you 5 years ago? And all of this stuff coming to fruition. And I don't mind people with different opinions, but I cannot stand hypocrites. Be consistent. Apply your same reasoning across the board. Don't pick and choose.
I think I interviewed a lady on Saturday about that.
Hands off my bodily autonomy. My reproductive freedom is essential to every other decision that, or my daughter's reproductive freedom is essential to every other choice they make in life.
So when you say bodily autonomy, does that include what kind of vaccines are put into your body?
That's a choice. Yeah, I believe in choice.
Okay.
And vaccines are a choice. Getting pregnant is a choice. Should be a choice.
Biden administration mandated that everyone get the vaccine.
Did she keep talk? Did she answer?
It went on and on. Then we talked about like transgendered people, like men competing in women's sports, and she said she doesn't know about that, and that it's not fair for her to comment on it because she doesn't know all the information on that. I mean, if you have enough conviction, it is and it isn't though. You have enough conviction to sit there and you have a sign that you're there for women's rights, but you don't know the whole topic. You don't know everything about women's rights and privacy, and I mean, you're promoting choice, but then all of a sudden, when it's a vaccine mandate, choice is kind of gone because it's scary to you. Fear changes
she did
it.
have to pause. before she answered your question. She had to think about what she said, but at least she thought about what she said. And I didn't see her sign that it was a woman's rights sign. That definitely changes things, because if she wants to be a woman's rights activist, she should know about shewon.org, and she should know about all of the women and girls who have been stripped of awards, scholarships, and trophies by mediocre men who are deciding that they're suddenly a female and taking their sports from them. She should know about the
Yeah,
men that are
a couple of
shaving.
them.
They're shaving their beard hair in Planet Fitness while a 12-year-old girl sits over on a bench wrapped in a towel, terrified and not like really sure how to react to it. So if she wants to call herself a women's rights activist, yeah, she actually absolutely should educate herself into the issues that are affecting women right now.
Could you imagine being, I guess this is our privilege to sit here and imagine and not have to be, but could you imagine being a trans person and wanting the whole world to care about you and your feelings and your um, reality and whether or not you feel safe, but not caring at all about maybe a young girl or somebody else on the opposing team who's a different gender than you who has to compete with you, not caring about their feelings or their
Actually, yeah,
reality
I can't
or their
imagine.
safety.
I
Could
was
you
in a
imagine? Like
relationship
I
with a
just
covert narcissist for about 4 years. So yeah, I can imagine, because it reeks of narcissism.
it's crazy. What do you think, Perry? We always throw the trans questions at you.
Mhm.
Women's choice questions.
Yep. The fact that, once again, it's got to be shoved down our throat and it's got to be up in our face every day. And we are not allowed to have opinions, and I can go on and on. It's it's a joke when you see how outspoken it is and how much you are told you're not allowed to talk about it. I mean, that's just
Well, it's if you're not in the group, you're not allowed to have an opinion, right? If you're not black, you can't have an opinion about black things. If you're not trans, you can't have an opinion about trans things. If you're not a woman, you can't have an opinion about womanly things. I don't really understand that.
and there's never been a guy actually take um, the opportunity to say that they are trans just to go into a women's bathroom. That's never happened, obviously, because they won't let you talk about it. Even though
I sense sarcasm.
a little bit of Google and it'll tell you different, but you know.
Yeah, the thing that never happens seems to keep happening. Absolutely. And if all women's rights activists should take the time to educate themselves on the trans movement, because the trans movement has been a men's rights movement. Every single transsexual, and I lived in New York City for 8 years. Like, I met some strange people. I made a lot of friends. And then traveling, I've lived in 4 different states, been all over the place. People like trans people, real transsexual people are everywhere. Like, we have them out here in our rural neighborhoods. You just don't know about them because they're busy living their life. Me and my trans friends don't talk about the fact that they're trans. We talk about whiskey, we talk about tea, we talk about how to get the freaking shells off of hard-boiled eggs. Like, they're normal people, and you can just have a normal friendship with them. It's the people who make the way they dress, the way they style themselves, who they have sex with, the people who make that their whole personality. Those are the people that kind of suck. It's boring. Like, I don't want to talk to someone about who they want to bang. It's really like, it's super off-putting, and it kind of feels like I didn't ask to know this about you.
The whole thing's hypocritical, and people can hate me for saying this, but it's the truth. If you want to be an activist and you want to support whatever you want, and on whatever separate other than just a normal white guy, whatever, that's fine. But if you're going to turn around and have the normal white guy put on the same thing because he's white or he's a guy, and you're going to be offended by it, then you better be offended by what you're doing too. Because there's no
Good old
reason,
bigotry.
the white guy cannot celebrate whatever he wants to celebrate, exactly as you celebrate whatever you're celebrating. You can't have the
Right.
double standard. But people, they will hate me for saying that, and it's nothing more than treating everybody equal.
The only people who hate equality are the people who don't actually want equality.
They want equity. I was talking with a liberal about the men in the women's bathrooms, and they were like, well, it's because men don't allow trans people to feel comfortable in their own bathroom. Like they don't allow, if someone's a man who identifies as a woman and is trying to still change or, go to the bathroom in a men's room, normal men don't make them feel comfortable. It's like, okay, so because we don't make you feel comfortable, you're going to go into the women's room and make them feel uncomfortable, and that somehow solves the problem.
Yeah. So,
and this was just one person's thought, but it doesn't make sense.
I've heard that a lot. It's not safe for us. And so my thing is, this is not a women's issue. This is not my problem. This is a men's issue. If it is men's responsibility to make space for all types of men, and it's women's job to make space for all types of women. If someone has a vagina and they're an XY chromosome carrier, it doesn't matter what they look like. It doesn't matter if they look like Buck Angel. It would be my responsibility to make space for that person and to not give that person a hard time. And so this is
I think we just
issue.
nailed it. Yeah. Like that would be the right way to approach this. And then I think maybe we could solve it.
On women. It's not our problem to solve. Like, not our circus, not our monkeys. So.
Oh, you guys are doing it. There are so many females right now standing up and getting out there and leading the charge on this. So I don't know what that says about our society as men, but
for the women who are standing up and refusing to compete against male athletes in the women's category, those women are so inspiring, and they are so brave, and they're risking so much to do the right thing. And it was the photograph of the woman at the Olympics, that Italian boxer who got, she forfeited, and the picture of her crying because she knew she was going to get hurt. And the trans athlete in the background smirking. And they tried to say that, oh, this person was intersexed. This person was a biological male.
For a long time.
Yeah. And let me just make this very clear. Women are not men with tiny penises. Okay. So just because a dude has some kind of physical anomaly, still not a woman. And so that's also kind of it's really shitty to just be like, well, he doesn't have the full male genitalia, we'll just throw him in with the women.
Yeah. I mean, men have being a man has a different physical composition than female, and that's why we separate them in sports. But here we go, making sense. So let me roll some more footage.
I'm on Facebook Live. So your sign says I'm with Ukraine, but you were just calling Trump an asshole. What's the connection?
He thinks with his ass.
Okay.
He's a sexual predator, a convicted felon, and I've known him since the late 50s, early 60s, when I lived in Jackson Heights and he lived in Jamaica Estates.
Like you've known him personally?
No, I just know him because he lived close to me in the next neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And my brother, who went to Bryan High School, used to bust him driving around in a limousine trying to pick up 14 and 15-year-old girls from Bryan High School. Rumor has it that he knocked one up. Fred Trump gave her the abortion, and that's when they sent him to military school.
With all due respect, I think the other side says that about Biden. that he sniffs kids and takes
What?
them in- Yep. I mean, you
I,
gotta
I,
get
oh,
out
wait,
there.
wait, wait. Time out.
His daughter
Time
straight
out.
up wrote
The
in
other
her
side said
journal
it.
that
They're
she was showering
projecting
with
what
her
they
dad
do
and questioned whether or not
onto
she was
their
They're
molested.
projecting, but you're not.
No, I'm not, because I was there. I saw it.
You were there when Trump was molesting.
No, he wasn't.
I was there when Trump was riding around in his limousine trying to pick up high school girls from Bryan High School, and he was already in his 20s.
You should contact a news reporter and get that
I'm
out
not
there in the
contacting
national
anybody.
news.
We know all this stuff. He knows all this stuff. Everybody here knows all this stuff. How people got conned by the best con man in the world, and he is. He's the best con man in the world. That's all I can say.
First of all, what is this
And
dude from Bryant Park doing in Oregon? Why is he
yeah,
here?
I just want to say I was laughing a lot during that, and people like the pedophilia and molesting young kids is not funny. It's not. So I was not laughing at that. I'm laughing at the ridiculousness of his statements that flip flop back and forth. Like, you know the guy? Oh wait, I don't know the guy. I was there. Oh wait, I wasn't there. It was my brother, or it was my cousin, or maybe it was me. I'm not sure. I mean, he was full of shit. And I
Now,
wasn't there, so I have no clue what Trump did when he was 20 years old or whatever. I have no idea. But
let's be
for that
fair.
guy to stand there and say that he knows, he
He
had no
probably,
idea.
like, Trump probably was a douchebag when he was in his 20s. But if we're
He's
going
still
to
a
be fair,
douchebag, but he's
most
our
dudes in their
douchebag.
20s are douchebags. And he was probably riding around in his limousine,
You're
hollering at
prejudiced.
girls. Well, obviously, because that's if you're in your 20s riding around in a limousine, of course you're going to like try to pick up on chicks. And when you're picking, but in New York, things are like, hey, how you doing? Hey, gorgeous. Oh, blowing them kisses, And it's very like, you see pretty girls on the street. Now, may I also mention that the 14 and 15-year-old girls in New York City, they wear uniforms. Do you know what they do with their Catholic schoolgirl uniforms? They roll up the waistband, they roll it up and roll it up and roll it up until the bottom of their booty is hanging out of their skirt. It's common, and anyone from New York that watches this is going to laugh because it's like a known thing. And so you could picture this guy in his 20s, he's rich, cruising around the neighborhood because for whatever he's showing off for his friends or whatever, and they have the windows down or they're hanging out the sunroof and they're yelling at pretty girls, not thinking like, we'd better check their ID before we hit on them, because back in the 50s and 60s wasn't a thing. That wasn't a thing that anyone
I mean,
worried
in the
about.
50s and 60s, a 20-year-old cat calling a 16-year-old is not that crazy.
It
Um,
was unfortunately normal then.
but again, if you're gonna call someone a pedophile and think you have the
Yeah.
facts, you better actually have the facts.
Yeah.
That's what I'm laughing at. Somebody who would stand there and claim, and I don't know if you guys caught the comment about, he said, oh well, because when I said that about Biden, like, because you've seen the videos of him sniffing the kids, like that's legit weird
You know what? It made me
mannerisms. But
stop
anyways,
because like
he
I
said that's
love
projecting.
I
He
love
said
sniff
that's
I love sniffing
projecting.
babies. And like I didn't know that apparently like I just can't, I need to sniff the baby. You know what I'm saying? And I'll just put my face on their head and like
These weren't
sniff.
babies. These were like all kids. All like it was. Have you not seen these? Have you seen the
I've
videos of
seen
Biden?
some of
Like the
them.
montages?
Yeah,
They're
I've seen
pretty
some of
weird.
them.
It's like when the senators get elected, they all come and get their photos taken, with the president and stuff in Congress. And it's like years and years. Like these span decades. And every single time he's like really just weird. I guess we'll have to play it and we're gonna piss some people off who are on
It
the
is.
other
It's weird
side
because
of the
little
aisle. But
kids
like
like
it's
they don't
weird.
smell good. Little
He's
kids are
like, yeah, he's
stinky.
just really creepy. He's creepy. He's just super creepy with them. But it was just funny. Like this guy had no idea. Like he actually thought I was crazy for bringing that up. That's not a thing. I'm just projecting. And it's 100% a thing. I'm not saying that Joe Biden is a pedophile, but the videos are definitely weird. Is what I was
Also,
saying.
his daughter wrote in her journal about how
Yeah,
her showers
she
taken
was
with her
uncomfortable.
father as a child were probably not appropriate, and wrote like, was I molested? And of course, these
Yep.
are her private diaries. I don't know that she necessarily wanted that information to go public, but how do people not
I
question,
it,
like,
I don't want to get into it. I don't know what president did what with who, except the Clinton guy. We know what he did with who, but the the other guys we don't know. The point is if you're going to stand on the street and spew
right.
claims about pedophilia, you better bring your facts, or at least stick to one story. The guy had a
Right.
bunch of different stories,
Well, and
but
if you're that passionate about it, but you don't want to take it to the media, I don't know, like,
yeah, I said go
then
get
what are you doing?
a journalist, and he's like, nah, we know, and that's also accusing us of like we know, but we're still okay with him, and like that's not if Trump was convicted of pedophilia, I'm not okay with that. Like that's not
Right.
no, you would not see people be okay with that.
I don't know, man. I have
Anyways,
no doubt that he has probably done some predatory things. I hate to break the news to people, but like a lot of men are not great. I don't know like who is unaware of this or who is surprised to find out, but it's actually a pretty small group of men who have a really like firm moral compass. Most men lie in the middle where they're not terrible, but they're actually not very great either. Like they're just kind of mediocre and average, and given the opportunity, they'll probably do something that is not very wonderful. Um,
we just
like,
the Democrat Party has no standing. They can't. I mean, like Bill Clinton. Come on, people. Like that. That was recent. that was that was that was recent.
yeah,
You
I
can't
don't get
ignore
the.
that and then be mad that Trump said grab him by the pee.
Well, it was
Um,
kind of interesting too. So that conversation happened in a locker room, and it was recorded without his knowledge. And they said, like, what is it like to be famous? And he said, like, how is it like? How do the women respond to it? And he said, you can do anything. You can grab them by the pussy. And he didn't
he probably just
necessarily
got us banned on
say,
Facebook.
crap, sorry. Um,
Here we go.
I meant
No, I know what you're saying. He was saying
cats,
like you could do this. He didn't say like I go around and do blank.
right.
Um,
I thought it was
but
a
again, we
gross
don't know
thing to
what he does.
say,
But
but right.
it's definitely
Like,
super gross.
but when you take it in the context of this was literally a conversation in a locker room, I don't know that, like, everybody has said something that is not great.
I
And
mean, I
especially,
don't like guys who talk like that.
no, I mean, it's
That's
gross.
not. I don't see the point.
It's common though.
But I I also I don't think that it's like whoa my gosh, he's like one out of a million guys. He should not. But I also
Exactly.
don't want to make it sound like it was okay. I mean it's not. It's like what of all the things you could be talking about with somebody, that's what you're talking about is where you can grab somebody because you're rich. That's kind of weird. But
But it's
I've
for
never been
sure
rich, so
gross.
yeah. But again, the same party who's mad about that is the same party who is okay with our sitting president getting a BJ in the Oval Office by his intern. So check yourself, Democrat Party, because that was not okay at
No, it
all.
was awful.
That was
And
that was not okay.
when it happened, I didn't understand how bad it was. When it happened, I was a late teen, like late teen, I think. And I kind of thought it was like, who cares? It's his business, but it is not his business. He was in a position of authority. He was at
Like triple
work,
authority
like it,
at the
it's
desk.
it's so abusive. It's so abusive. And now, as I got older and I began understanding power dynamics and how victimization happens, how coercion happens, my opinion changed. But I guess that's kind of a testament to the ignorance of youth. You know, you're not, if you you only know what you know, and so you can only put things into the context of the intellectual landscape that you've created up to that point.
Well, you've got to, and if I like, okay, well, if Trump did it right now, like they'd be going nuts. If Trump got caught with Monica Lewinsky right now,
Right.
or the the younger version, like they'd be going nuts. It'd be all over the place. It's not okay.
Be kind of funny. I mean, not funny in like a completely
It's not.
hypothetical way. Like,
Yes.
not in a real way. But
Not cool for a president to abuse his power like that. But anyway, we should move on. This is we're talking about stuff from decades ago. We've got issues today.
Guns on your shirt. Are you a Second Amendment supporter?
I am a Second Amendment supporter.
Very cool. What do you think about Oregon limiting?
As a matter of fact, my entire family in Arizona, where I'm originally from, is hardcore right-wing Republicans.
What do you think about Oregon trying to limit who can have access to guns and how many bullets in a magazine?
I think there are places for rules and stipulations. I think that limiting the amount of bullets in a magazine doesn't do anybody any harm.
Okay. Do you think it's kind of fascist for them to do that? What do you guys hope to accomplish?
Like, I believe that it shall not be infringed, but I also believe that it shall be infringed, if it makes sense. Like,
the
I don't know.
intellectual gymnastics that people have to do to pull their ideologies into congruence. You know what I mean? And the other thing that bothers me is how many of these people are from out of state. Like, take your shitbag beliefs and go back to wherever you came from. Like, it's frustrating because it's social. Like, yes, I respect the protest, yada yada. It's a part of, democracy. But like, you notice how a lot of these people that have really strong opinions, they're not from here. And I don't know why people are coming here and wanting
I didn't
to
ask
change.
anybody where they came. Yeah.
He said he was
Hey,
from Arizona.
full disclosure, I was not born in Oregon.
Weren't you from?
And by
aren't you from
God,
the
do
East
I want to
Coast?
change some stuff around here. Yeah, I grew up in Pennsylvania, lived there till
Yeah.
I was 18, moved to college, was in Buffalo, New York for about 10 years, then
To
in
be
California
fair,
for a little bit. Yeah.
Pennsylvania is the Oregon of the East Coast.
Where I grew up was very similar socioeconomically to where I'm at now. So,
It is
but
culturally too. It's very
so
similar.
I'm a little biased, but I think people should be able to come from wherever and seek change, but do it through the
Yeah.
proper channels. And that's what I was addressing, because he was complaining about fascism. That's what his sign was. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I had him define it and talk about democracy versus fascism. And then I brought up a point, like, is that fascist to just bypass the Second Amendment and have our Oregon legislature fascistly dictate how they feel that gun rights should be handled? And he said, well, if it's by the people, if it's a vote, but it's not. That's not what's happening. So it doesn't make sense.
And he didn't realize that it's not by the people, that it's a top-down implementation.
Well, and if you want to change it by the people, you go through the normal amendment process to get
Right.
rid of the Second Amendment or to change it. There's a normal process for that. It's very hard, but it's very hard for a reason.
Right.
And if people, we'll just leave it at that. But what's up, Perry? You like made a movement.
Once again, they label them as a fascist, but have nothing to back it up. And it's just another tool. They don't have a definition of what that word means. They just throw it out there and hope it sticks. And just
If you don't like someone, they're a fascist Nazi.
Yep.
It's a drive-by insult. It is the
I like that phrase.
slut of 2025. Remember back in the 90s?
Just got
when-
banned on Facebook again.
What? Getting us in so much trouble. It's the schloot.
The F
The
words are
shoot.
fine.
Yeah, that was like the drive-by insult of the 90s. You just chuck that insult out at somebody and put them down
Yeah.
really quick. It's
Now
a
it's
similar
fascist.
thing.
And the bad part is there's no weight behind it. Go ahead and call me a fascist all you want. It means nothing to me.
That's
I'm
exactly
not.
how a
I can
fascist
prove
thinks.
it and whatever. It's stupid.
Such a fascist thing to say. Yeah.
Right?
I wonder how
That's
many of these
funny.
people actually know what fascism is.
I don't think they
None.
do.
Every time I hear somebody use the word, they do not know what they're talking about.
Can't even figure out
Even
how to spell
Wikipedia
it.
doesn't know it.
You've got quite a bit of people here. You've got a couple hundred people.
I think it's partly to raise awareness. I think it's to show other people that not everybody is just one side or the other.
Okay.
That hopefully there can be some consensus somewhere.
Do you think that people are unaware of what Trump's doing?
I think so. Yeah, I think there are a lot of people that don't pay attention to news, or a lot of people that get their news from biased sources, or
I'm about to go to the North Bend Library for a media literacy course on
good.
misinformation.
Yeah.
What do you think would be a bad source of
really
information? What kind of news sites?
Well, I think Fox News is bad.
What is the?
So her news is right, and
Yep.
Fox News is wrong. She's getting her information from the good sources. She seemed like a nice lady, honestly. It's a
A
shame.
lot of these people were very calm, very nice, but if you're going to enter yourself into an intellectual dialogue, which look, everybody has the right to protest the government, but if you want to do it effectively, people like Democrat Party, if you're watching, if you want to effectively protest our government, get your shit together, understand your facts, understand reality, and have an actual message that has substance, and then maybe you'll get some people to sway to your side. But until you do that, it's just going to sound like a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah. So there's two things that I'm noticing a theme here. All of these people seem to be getting their information from the news. So that's kind of a common denominator. And we do know that our media drums up hyperbolic fear. That's basically what they're selling. The other thing that I've noticed is that none of these people have picked up any of this national stuff in the local issues. Like none of them are saying, Trump deported my friend who was here legally. Do you see what I'm saying? Like none of them are
I did. I
saying
asked a
like,
few people, like, what does this mean for Coos County? I did ask a couple people, like,
Yeah.
what is this? Like, what you're doing all this stuff, but like, what is it? What I asked them, like, if you could win today, if success happened, if you could wave a magic wand, what would it mean for Coos County? What would the major change be? And that kind of stumped people. They didn't really have a thing for it. I went to remember the filibuster? Like there's a filibuster in the Senate. Like if you talk, you can delay a bill by talking and talking and talking. Well, the liberals, like, I don't know, 4 years ago or whatever, were really upset about it. And they wanted to end the filibuster. And I went up and it was like a bunch of ladies who you would normally find at a library or something. And they were like very nicely protesting the filibuster. And I asked them, I'm like, what does this mean locally? Like if you ended the filibuster, what would it mean here? And they had they were like very proud of me. They were like, sir, that's such a good question.
It is though. Yeah.
But you know what? Whatever.
I feel like if some of
They
these
also
people
spelled
would
filibuster
just spend
wrong.
time around conservative people and get away from the news, all news.
I don't watch Fox News. I don't watch any news. I don't have
I don't either.
television. Perry, do you watch Fox News?
No, I actually don't.
And we probably just blew their mind. How the hell do we know what we know then?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll read articles from anywhere. If I want to fact check something, like I'll read whatever articles I can find. I have noticed that articles about things that contradict the mainstream narrative seem to go underreported. They really just won't pick up stories that have show a diverse thought.
There's a site I like. It's citizenfreepress.com.
Okay, yeah,
Citizenfreepress.com.
I go
And
to that too.
it's like
Yeah.
an aggregate, and it's so simple, and you can just glance at it like once a day. I could go, oh, I'm interested in that, and I'm interested in that. And I'm sure it's conservative leaning, but it's what Melissa says. She watches Hallmark. There you
Let's
go.
not forget that a bunch of these
Melissa,
protesters had their signs made for them by one person.
wait, I think that's
Really?
coming up next here. Melissa, I hope your husband's doing all right. If you want to get, I'm going to give you a call after this show because I was talking with Paylene earlier, and you and your husband are in our thoughts. I don't know if you guys remember Melissa. Her husband was the one who was assaulted by the homeless guy. With the homeless guy was hitting him over the head with
Oh,
a skateboard,
yes.
and this was, I want to say, like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and the guy got off on attempted assault. I mean, it's like he beat the man in the head with the skateboard, and somehow that's attempted assault. It was a plea deal, and he only got a couple years in prison for that. And Melissa's husband has
Whoa.
permanent damage from this, and he's currently in the hospital with complications from that, and not doing good. So if you're praying, people out there, pray for Melissa and her husband, and pray that Coos County doesn't allow shit like that to happen, because it's not okay. So sorry, I didn't mean to like bring the mood down, but like this is the reality we live in. There's people
There's
that are
only
not being held accountable for things.
So it was
There's
barely a
there's
year ago that this
definitely,
happened.
yeah.
January of
So
2024. Yeah, prayers aren't
well,
going to fix the, I mean, pray for her husband, obviously, but us praying is not going to reopen the institutions that we need to house people who cannot be trusted to not hurt others.
we need accountability. We need law enforcement and accountability around here. So, but everybody knows we're working on that as hard as we possibly can. Um, well, anyways, I'll keep playing the footage.
Finger for Trump me.
Screw you, Trump.
Okay. Do you think that's appropriate in the middle of the day on here on the boardwalk?
It's a hand sign.
Okay. Do you mind if I ask you some questions about your sign?
So trashy.
Oh, here you go.
Okay.
I did not make it.
You should definitely talk to her.
All right, I will.
United we stand, divided we fall. And I believe that now more than ever. It's important that people know how many folks are really excited to do something about this crap that we're getting.
So I see a Coos County Democrat shirt. Have you worked with any Republicans on this issue?
I don't know any Republicans. They isolate themselves as we do ourselves.
Okay.
If only he knew there was a Republican standing right next to him. I
We
mean, come on,
segregate each
man.
other.
Yeah. What? No, we don't. I mean, we sort of do, but come on, man. If you're gonna say that like we need to work together and this is how we fix things, then do it.
Democrats go to North
I don't
Bend
know.
Safeway. Republicans go to the Coos Bay Safeway.
Is that how? I believe it. How Fred Meyer has two parking lots, like one on one
Yeah.
side of the building or the other. I wonder if we could do like a poll and figure out if there's actually like some science behind it. I go around back because I hate parking in the front one. It is a cluster trying to come out and turn out of there, and it is not safe. So I go to the back because I'm a defensive driver, for sure. I drive like an old lady.
It's tough, when he says that Republicans isolate themselves. I'm not a Republican, so I don't know who he's talking about. I've been a registered independent pretty much my whole life. But I think that there's a lot of isolation going, because when you do ask people questions about why they think the way they think, they become hostile. And I don't keep people like that in my social circle. Like, I literally she kicked me off of Facebook. We went to high school together, but she posted something really racist. And I commented on it, like, really polite, but basically saying, like, you are becoming the thing you claim to hate. And she said, F no, I'm going to stand up for this, that, and the other. And I'm like, dude, you are discriminating against people because of the color of their skin. Like, that's racist. It's wrong. She ended up just
Yeah.
deleting me and didn't comment back, just remove me. And I thought, you know, how isn't it nice, like, to have a racist remove themselves from my life? Why would I want a friend who wouldn't hire me because I'm white? Why would I want someone like that in my life? Why would I want someone who thinks that I don't deserve equal opportunity because of the color of my skin? It's
Now we're
insane.
back to DEI again. It is insane.
Like,
It's great.
and
You mean there's a thing
it's,
called
you know,
reverse discrimination?
it's not
No,
reverse,
it's not
it's just
reversed.
discrimination. It's just discrimination, no matter who you're doing it to, no matter why you're doing it. If you are discriminating against someone because of the color of their skin, you're in bigot racist territory. And I don't care what kind of mental gymnastics you do to justify it. It's
Isn't that
like,
our privilege speaking?
is it a privilege to want equality? Maybe. I think it's a privilege to think that you get to pick and choose who deserves equal opportunity and who doesn't. Boy, that's some
I,
hubris.
I think it's a privilege to assume that people who are in a majority have never had hard times or have never
Oh,
been
hell yeah.
bullied or discriminated against. But
Hell yeah.
what do I
I
know? I'm
couldn't
a straight white
imagine
male.
like being friends with someone who thinks I am less worthy of equal opportunity for employment because of the color of my skin. I wouldn't want to be friends with someone like that. That person hates me. On some level, that person does not care if I suffer. That person does not care if I can provide for myself or my welfare. Why would I want someone like that in my life? So this guy's perception that, well, they isolate themselves, is it maybe that they just kind of don't want to be around bigots and racists? Because I know if there's conservatives that are bigots and racists, I won't spend time around them either. So, I mean, maybe it's like not the political affiliation, maybe it's the beliefs that come along with it.
Yeah, I don't know. People have a hard time talking with people from the other side. I don't get it. But that's actually kind of the point of all this. I wanted to show people that, like, see, it's easy. We don't have to. There was no violence. There was no
Yeah,
fighting. No one got
yeah,
yelled at. No one. No.
yeah.
There was. It was peaceful. We all had peaceful conversation, and it was constructive. There was back and forth.
Well,
There was alternative viewpoints.
you did not ask them to validate your opinions. Now, if you had been asking for equal validation, you give your opinion and I respect it. I give my opinion and you respect it. I think you would have gotten a different reaction.
That's fair. Yeah. Yeah.
You were just asking
You mean I
questions
was
and
being
letting me
nice?
talk. Yeah, you were being
Isn't that
very
crazy though? Like, we know that.
accommodating.
We know I was being nice, and yet it still wasn't good enough for people. I was still an asshole for doing it. And
Well,
I
no
I
one likes
mentioned
to
this on
look
Rod's
stupid.
show. Like, it's not like this is not the look of, like, what I did out there is not the look of like a mayor or commissioner. I get that, people. I get it. Like, this is not what we want our, like, leaders out there doing. But however, we have to understand these things and have these conversations until we can we have to have them first so that we can start to understand how to elect the right type of people and how to direct our government, because we need to start with these conversations first. Until we do that, it honestly doesn't matter who's out there, because we're killing ourselves from the inside. So if we're not being the right people that are capable of being led, because we're just going to follow anything anybody says, then it's not good. Then anybody can get up there and lead you the wrong direction because you're just
Right.
believing whatever somebody says. So does that make sense? Like,
Yeah. I
it,
will say
so
I've let go of a lot of my arbitrary beliefs about what a leader is supposed to look or act like. recently, like in the last year, because I've always kind of been like, well, I would look at other women and like, she's so poised, she's so well
Yeah.
spoken, like she brushes her hair regularly. And I would be like, I want to be more like that. And so I kind of was like, like, you know, I'm a little too feral, I'm a little too rough around the edges, like, uh, you know, I'm not cut out for the public eye, like, but now that I don't know, I've done like a lot of reflecting on that. And I think that these people who I looked up to as poised and collected and graceful and polite and, you know, well spoken, I don't think they are the people I thought they were. And I think that performance matters over all of that other stylistic stuff that I was valuing. And it has kind of made me realize that I would probably make a better leader than I thought I maybe would. And that maybe like the like you were saying how it's not mayorly of, you know, to go out and do these interviews. Well, yeah, the mayor has other stuff to do. Like our leaders have other stuff to do than go like bother protesters. But it's not unleader like it's not a disqualification.
Yeah.
And I think maybe our priorities and the way we conceive of leaders as being these kind of stuffy people who have this look about them, they conduct themselves in a certain way, and you know, they're very poised and they're very controlled and everything is very choreographed. Maybe it's all BS. And like,
There you go.
maybe it's all for show, maybe it's all styling and not substance, and we need to look past.
We
And
need to know
I've
our
noticed,
leaders for who they are, like
yeah, like,
authentically. Who are these people
yes,
authentically in all different scenarios and different situations? And that's what I'm hoping to present to the people, and then give them the option. That's, you know, in terms of me running for office, it's an
right,
option. It's a choice. I'm
right.
giving you a choice. If you like the
I,
choice, great. If you don't like the choice, tell me why.
yeah, I don't think we can keep voting for the same type of persona and expect different outcomes.
What do you think, Perry? What do you think about leadership?
There's very few leaders. You can't be a leader and just go with the flow and take the easy route. That's not a leader. That's just a follower. You're just not following the person. You're following your followers.
Or the leaders before you, because you were like, oh, well, that's what they did, so this is what I have to do. If I
Yeah,
want that job, I have to act and look and be a certain way to get that job.
emulate. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That was exactly kind of how I put it, Chris, is that like I need to be a certain way. And I've kind of changed my mind about that. I think I need to be me, good, bad, and otherwise, just be authentically me. And if that's not what the people want, then God bless them. God bless us all. Like, because
Yeah.
what we're electing obviously isn't working. And I just think maybe I got fooled by personas, you know, like more often than not. I was very impressed by things that I maybe shouldn't have been impressed by. And maybe that was like me being kind of insecure in myself, you know, looking outside myself and not really appreciating my qualities and ability to lead and seeking something outside myself as better or more qualified.
We should just be us. And if people want that as a leader, then that's what they choose. We'll see what we'll see what they pick. Authenticity is key.
Man, there's a
I
few
wasn't
people that
talking
I've come
about
across
transgendered.
that.
I was saying there's boys and
Sorry, I
No, go
threw
ahead.
the
Go ahead.
video up.
Go ahead.
in girls' locker rooms.
I don't know if there's boys. You mean when the girls aren't there for sports teams traveling?
No, like there are boys disguising themselves as women.
I've never
pretending they're
seen that.
women.
I don't know what you're talking about. If you can prove that, let me see it. I've never seen it.
Okay.
I know nothing about it. No one has ever told me that and proved that it happened.
Just last week, a boy ran in a track meet in Portland against competed against girls, and he won the race. Do you think that that's okay?
I don't know about that. I didn't see a boy run. I did see a guy, a transgender person, run against men recently in a sports team. Someone that identifies.
Do you think it's wrong to...
Like what? What world does she live in?
Well, because that's the thing,
Because you're
Chris.
using the wrong words.
What was that, Perry?
You were using the wrong words.
Because I said
How
the
so?
gender.
Yep.
I said a man competing in women's sports. I didn't say a trans woman competing in women's sports.
Right.
Because I don't think the word trans woman makes sense. Like you're either a man or a woman, and that's independent of having the mindset of gender dysphoria, which is trans. But I'm not a scientist, so maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But to me, you're a man or a woman. You can't change it.
And she can sit there and say that she has never seen that and prove you wrong because of her wording and her definitions.
Interesting. I kind of wonder if she's not seeing that because she's watching specific news sources that don't publish that stuff. Because that's a thing. Like if she's
That seemed like the theme on Saturday for sure. Like these people said, like, nope, that's not a thing. They've never, just like Drew Farmer in my commissioner debate, he said that the military never fired anybody. And maybe that's a Fox News thing, right? Like maybe I only saw that on Fox News, even though I don't watch Fox News. But it was a thing. But yeah, if they only have one source for stuff and they believe it and will not check any other source, that's where we end up.
That's the thing. Like anytime somebody tells me anything, no matter what political party or what event, I just go Google it really quick. And I just go and read through like a bunch of different sources. I look for documents that come up, like stuff will come up and you can see all sides of things. It will come up. But I don't think
I think you could tell that she knew that it could be a possibility. Like the way she responded, she was like, no, I've never heard of that. Never. It was very snotty. It was like,
yeah.
And it was like, that's not how you normally would deal with news that conflicts with your reality. You'd be like, really? Like, I mean, I haven't heard of that, but like, that sounds crazy. Instead, she's like, no, that never happened. That never happened. Because it doesn't fit her narrative.
Yeah, right out of the gate.
It would mean there might be something wrong with her party platform, and
threat to the identity.
And that might, the identity, there you go.
It's because what it is their sense of being a good person is rooted in their beliefs. I am a good person because I stand up against these injustices. So if you reveal those injustices to be not what they're made out to be, you threaten their status as a good person.
It seems so. These people they took it personal. Some of them, not everybody, but anything on that one, Perry, before I move on to the play more? I think there's only one more. He's like, just play it.
Yep.
Someone that identifies.
Transgender. Do you think it's wrong to come into our country illegally?
Yes. It should be a legal entry, by all means.
You just don't think they should be deported?
Well, a whole bunch of people got deported for speaking against Trump when they had green cards. They were at universities.
So I'm not saying that you're wrong. I just didn't see that. Where would I find that information?
No, that's not what happened.
I know, but it doesn't. This is a good exercise, though. This isn't about whether it's right or wrong. Listen to what I ask. It's because again, I said, like, I don't know that you're wrong, and this is exactly, compared to the other lady, this is how you would deal with information that breaks your narrative. That if it breaks you and it's like, what? That's not anything I've ever heard. This is how you deal with it. You go, where can I find it?
Right.
For speaking against Trump when they had green cards. They were at universities.
So I'm not saying that you're wrong. I just didn't see that. Where would I find that information?
Well, just about every news outlet other than right.
What are some right news outlets?
Well, you could say Fox News.
Okay.
Which isn't really a true news organization.
Any others? Which ones are bad?
I can't name them.
Like, so it's just Fox. Only Fox is bad, and all the others are reporting on this. So for the record, I do not watch Fox News. I don't go on foxnews.com. And it's not like a choice. I find other sources more informative, and I just end up being on other sources. And I like to find what the other side is saying more than what, because I kind of know where my side's going to go if I'm conservative. But anyways, he didn't. Oh, it's just everywhere, and I'm somehow ignorant. I just don't do my research, and I've never seen that. And I still might be wrong, but like that guy couldn't tell me where. You know?
I believe that did happen, and I know about it because it happened at my alma mater. It happened at Columbia University. There were some students that are not from America who were threatening Jewish students with violence on behalf of Palestinians, and I believe they got deported. But we can check.
So they didn't get deported just because they were nice people doing the right thing, just sitting around legally in our country, and then saying, I don't like the government, and getting deported. Because with civil rights attorneys, they would have been all over that because it's a First Amendment violation. They would have been all over it. Well, I guess technically, if they're not citizens, do they not fall under the First Amendment? I don't know. But
they still do.
Yeah, I would think so.
Several students have sued the government challenging their visa revocations. So just so people on here can know, the first couple that I'm checking are BBC, CNN, and The Guardian. So no, we don't just go straight toward conservatives. I read them all.
Well, what does it say? Let's go through this. I mean, we don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but
so this is the
we've
BBC.
been on here for over 2 hours. But does it say they just simply got deported because they spoke out against Trump?
I'm looking for where it says. It doesn't say that they. Okay, here we go. It's a very long article, and at the very this is like the middle of the article. It's very long. Many of those targeted have participated in some form of pro-Palestinian activity. Yeah, he deported the people who were openly threatening Jewish students. Is what I believe. So we'll go.
I mean,
go on to.
I'll do some research after the show and figure it out more. But I mean, still, if they're just protesting, they shouldn't be deported just for protesting. But I know that some of those protests in New York, I believe at Columbia, were extremely violent. They took over, didn't they take over in Portland? They took over the library here.
Yes.
They like took over areas of the college, and they weren't even students there. So if that's a situation that they're involved in, that's not protesting. That's rioting. That's violence. That's trespassing, burglary, so many things. Go for it, Barry.
And there's a little caveat to it also that you're just here on a temporary basis. It's not a right to be here; it's a privilege, and it's the idea of promoting things that undermine America or its values or put it in danger and things like that too.
This man also insinuated that it was like he's doing this all over the place, like in mass. He's just he like looked up on people's phones if they visited CNN and they're an immigrant, and if those two metrics match, they're at it. Like, I don't know, but Brandy, you're in CNN world. You're in deep. You look like you're concentrating very hard.
Oh, I'm trying to like skim through and pick out like, the oh, they're sympathetic to Hezbollah,
Yes, that's part of it.
destabilizing activities. That's why they were deported. So some of them have been deported for drinking and driving, traffic tickets.
It's kind of like I said to the Nazi guy, the guy with the Nazi sign. I was like, look, dude, if there's a legit injustice happening, like massive injustice happening across this nation, good people will stand up, and it doesn't matter what side of the aisle we lay on. Like good people will stand up and say no to it. So to just assume that there's like this half of the country that doesn't care about rights or doesn't care about people is really wrong. But yeah, Karen says part of that was them supporting terrorism, and it looks like Karen's
Looks
profile
like it.
photo is the Death Star,
Mhm.
which is with like cat ears or something. That's a good one. What were you gonna
That's
say,
cute.
Brandy?
It does look like there is a lot of terrorism stuff. Un-American. They're basically trying to destabilize the social systems of the West.
I mean, could you
Huh.
imagine like moving to another country on a temporary status, and the first thing you do is like start protesting their government? That's
Because of their
definitely weird.
amazing school that you needed to get into so bad.
Right?
Yeah, that's definitely strange. That's a little bit of a red flag. Well,
I mean, and the claim that they're deported on speeding tickets is kind of like, how fast were they going and how many speeding tickets did they have? Because I bet it wasn't one ticket going 7 over. I bet it was multiple tickets of felony speeding charges or something. And I'm speculating, but it just seems un I feel like they take a reasonable event and they omit enough information to make it seem unreasonable on purpose to make people mad because rage bait sells.
it does. Well, that's all I had. That was the whole video. I had just enough time to edit that right before the show. I think there was a few other segments, but I ran out of time, so I had to like blast through the end there. But if people want to see the whole thing, it's about an hour long, and it's on our YouTube and Facebook channels. Um, Also, for people, I started summarizing public meetings. So if you go to my website, chriscastleman.com, there's like 5 meetings on there, but I'm trying to do like a range of meetings from all over the county, Lakeside City Council, North Bend City Council, and things like that to kind of give people, I guess, a little more perspective about how governments operate and how to get involved and just show people how easy it is to get access to this information, um, and to maybe help out some of the smaller cities like Lakeside and stuff, who don't have as much public engagement and they don't have the ability to put all this stuff online. So I don't know if it's helpful. If there's people out there from these city councils that are like, Chris, stop. That's not helpful. Like, let me know and I'll stop. But I'm trying to get people more involved and more engaged. I know that can sometimes be scary, but we'll see how it works. But yeah, if you go to the website, there's our live streams are there and the public meetings are there. And yeah, let me know if it's helpful. Trying to be helpful. What do you guys got? Any last final thoughts? That was a lot of stuff to go through. That was a
Oh,
lot.
this was fun. I got to kind of
Yeah.
geek out and talk about some of my favorite psychology topics, and so it was fun. I hope that people find this stuff as interesting as we do and enjoy it. And I
Yeah,
am,
it was
I
a
am
big
open
range
to
of topics.
hearing. I'm open to hearing contrary, like if people want to, show me where this evidence for all this stuff is, show me evidence, show me proof, explain to me why you think you the way you do. I'm open to hear it, but like there needs to be proof, and I can't do covert abuse stuff. So as soon as the name calling stuff starts, as soon as they start with circular conversations or muddying the waters or guilt tripping or shaming or anything like that, I'm out. I won't do any nastiness. And unfortunately, my experience has been that as soon as I start drilling down, that thing happens where they
Yep.
can't, they start to have that rift of like their identity being challenged, and people freak out and they get really nasty, like like they're defending their life, lashing out. And it's just like, okay, I just asked you why a grown man should be allowed to shave his beard in a women's locker room.
What about you, Perry?
Yeah. When I say something, it's based off of a whole lot of my own experience and own research, and um, it's very, very rare that somebody will be able to argue or debate me and be able to get me to say I'm wrong, because it's if I'm going to say it publicly, I guarantee you I'm not wrong.
You think before you speak. That's
Yeah.
kind of a rare thing. Well, I'll leave it at that. Simon's asking us if we attended. I'm assuming this is the Coos Bay meeting. If I'm wrong, type it in the comment, but let me know. And yeah, I'll go watch the meeting, and we'll see if they talked about the Deborah Center. It sounds like they did in the last Coos Bay City Council meeting. So we'll get on that. But that's it. That's all I had. Thanks for watching, everybody. It's been fun going to a rally from the other side and talking to people. Thanks for being on the show with us, Perry.
Oh, yeah.
Always good to see you, Brandy.
You too, guys. Take care.